You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Arise News, awards, and beyond.
In an age where we are teaching machines to reason, it is bold and necessary to care for the minds we so often overlook, our own. The mind is not just a processor of thought, but a bearer of memory, grief, and meaning. In many of our traditions, mental distress has no clear name. It is absorbed in silence, spiritualized, or endured. These cultural instincts, sometimes they reflect a dimension of care, but too often they are blind spots and they act as barriers to actual care. Recognizing the mind as a site of healing is not a break from our values, but a deepening of them. At the Yaradua Foundation, we have long championed mental well-being as essential to civic resilience. In particular, we continue to promote, to support, to advocate greater recognition of the mental health toll borne by human rights defenders, those who speak for the voiceless, often at a personal cost. This platform affirms what we must all learn to say, that care is not weakness and healing is not retreat. Care is at the core of cohesion, and cohesion is what makes us greater than the sum of our parts. We are proud to stand with those who name this truth and to insist that mental well-being belongs at the very core of human dignity and our democratic life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amara Nwankpa. Please help me welcome the Director, Yale International Leadership Center, Dr. Emma Sky, for her keynote address.
To address the Big Ideas Platform 2025 is Emma Sky, Founding Director of Yale's International Leadership Center and lecturer at the Yale-Jackson School of Global Affairs. Sky brings over 30 years of global leadership in conflict resolution, security, and peace building, guiding the next generation of public leaders through courses in Great Power Dynamics, Middle East politics, and grand strategy. Sky's extensive fieldwork includes roles such as political advisor to the Commanding General of U.S. forces in Iraq, development advisor to the commander of NATO's International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan, political advisor to the U.S. Security Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, and government coordinator of Kirkuk for the Coalition Provisional Authority. She also spent 10 years working in the Palestinian territories, leading projects to build institutional capacity and promote coexistence between Israelis and Palestinians. Recognized for her ability to lead, mentor, and inspire high-performing teams, Sky brings deep expertise in navigating complex geopolitical landscapes. She is also a skilled communicator, drawing on her experience as a university lecturer, media commentator, and author of 2 widely acclaimed books: The Unraveling, High Hopes and Missed Opportunities in Iraq, 2015, and In a Time of Monsters, Traveling in the Middle East in Revolt, 2019. Sky's global impact spans the Middle East, South Asia, Latin America, and Africa, where she has provided technical expertise in poverty reduction, human rights, justice and public administration reform, security sector transformation, and conflict resolution. With a proven ability to build strategic relationships at the highest levels across government, civil society, and the private sector, Dr. Sky continues to shape and support the development of future global leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Emma Sky.
Thank you very much, and it really is an honor to be with you today at the Big Ideas Forum, a day which marks Africa Day, which celebrates Africa's freedom and future. And I want to thank my dear friend and sister, Obi Ezekwesili, for inviting me, and for the wonderful team at the School of Politics, Policy and Governance for looking after me so well. It's really wonderful to be back again in Nigeria. Now, the theme this year is brain health and mental well-being. And when I was first asked to speak to you all, I thought, I'm not a neuroscientist, I'm not a therapist. What contribution do I have to make on this topic? But I do believe the well-being of an individual is deeply connected to the context in which they live and the opportunities they have to develop to their full potential, to lead productive lives, and to contribute to their society. In other words, the well-being of an individual is related to the well-being of a community, a country, a continent. And I say this as someone who has lived and worked in conflict-afflicted societies, as well as societies where there is gross inequality. I recognize the effects of trauma on people's psyches, the humiliation of living under corrupt and incompetent leaders, the frustration at the lack of justice and the lack of opportunity. Now, you don't need me to recite the woes afflicting Africa. You all know them too well. And social media amplifies the comparisons, reinforcing the perception that life is better elsewhere. And all of this causes anxiety and mental health problems. Now, every year, I'm fortunate to speak to Sppg classes. And each year, it's daunting. In fact, it's quite terrifying. Imagine speaking to 200 Nigerians on Zoom. It's really, really scary. But this year, when I asked what policy issue that the students wanted to focus on, they chose food security. And during the class, a large percentage of students didn't have stable access to the internet, and the electricity kept going out. So how can we talk about a life worth living, a life worthy of humanity, if people don't have their basic needs? When basic needs remain unmet, striving for a meaningful life becomes much more difficult. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to share with you a positive vision for Africa's future, a horizon of hope, and a pathway to possible. By 2050, a quarter of the world's population, 2.5 billion people, will be African. Now, if sub-Saharan Africa can raise its productivity growth from around 1% per year to 4%, which is close to India's recent rate, by 2050, its share of world output will be 10%, and it would account for a fifth of global growth. Just imagine if Africa makes a quicker demographic transition, expands and improves education, increases investment in infrastructure, boosts agricultural productivity and manufacturing, and encourages greater financial flows, and implements the African Continental Free Trade Area. So if the free trade area becomes fully operational, creating a bigger single market, the World Bank reckons it could lift overall GDP by 7% by 2035 and take 40 million people out of extreme poverty. And Africa would have great bargaining power globally. So that's the horizon of hope. Now let me talk about the pathway to realize this. And let me start by telling you, Africa's got the human capital. Africa's got talent. And I share this with you from my perch as director of the Yale International Leadership Center. We run a number of programs, including Yale World Fellows, Yale Climate Fellows, Yale Peace Fellows, and around a quarter of our fellows are Africans, and over half our applicants are Africans. Africa's got innovators. People like Tariq Mugani, who saw a broken banking system in Ghana and ran headlong into the problem. Tariq founded Affinity, a digital bank that provides affordable and accessible services to small businesses. For its customers, 90% of whom were previously unbanked, and 60% of whom are women in the informal sector, financial inclusion is so much more than a buzzword. It's a revolution. Africa's got investors, people who move money with mission, like Tokumbo Ishmael, a Nigerian trailblazer in impact investing, using capital to scale solutions from a new generation of entrepreneurs, solving Africa's hardest challenges, and building inclusive businesses that help folks reach their full potential. Or Abdurrahman Diallo from Côte d'Ivoire, who's making intra-African trade a reality from his seat at the Islamic Trade Finance Corporation. And oh, by the way, he has a few side hustles in plant cloning, clean cooking fuel, and electrification of Africa. Africa's got climate champions, visionaries like James Mwangi from Kenya. James sees how the continent that contributed the least to global warming can also contribute the most to addressing it. Through his venture studio, James is taking a big bet on Africa, its demographics, its growth trajectory, its natural resource endowments, to power a net zero future for all. Africa alone possesses 40% of the world's renewable energy potential. How can we unleash Africa's potential as a global hub of climate action while underwriting a new climate-smart model of economic growth and inclusive livelihoods for the continent itself? Africa's got food system fixers, people thinking about how Africa needs to feed itself, not just today, but sustainably into the future. Folks like Soraya Hosni, a Tunisian social entrepreneur who founded Clever Harvest, which harnesses digital data points to increase yields while implementing sustainable farming practices. Her mission, not just to grow food, but to restore ecosystems and livelihoods across North Africa. Africa's got peacemakers, people who understand the drivers of conflict and the policies that are required to address conflict. Mediators who've got the skills to help broker settlements. I'm thinking of Ntagwiro, a Rwandan peace activist, artist, and a survivor of the genocide. He founded Be the Peace, a movement that uses storytelling, art, and community healing to prevent cycles of violence. A few years back, he walked across Rwanda for 100 days, one for each day of the genocide, as a living testimony of forgiveness, reconciliation, and unity. He's showing the world that peace isn't passive, it's built step by step. Africa's got storytellers. Stephanie Busari, who I had dinner with last night, the pioneering head of CNN's first digital and multi-platform bureau in Nigeria. She's a decorated journalist with a Peabody, Emmy, and Gracie Award. It was she who led CNN's coverage of the Chibok schoolgirls. Africa's got soul, musicians who have been uplifting the human spirit across the world for centuries. Asha, I got a ticket to see her in London in July, sold out already. And I mention these individuals and so many more, not only because they're Yale World Fellows, but because they're role models, and it's through who are able to reimagine Africa's future. They give us hope. Africa's got hustle to harness. Africa's youthful population will be the force for change. They demand change. And this pathway to possible requires a new generation of leaders to harness that hustle, to attract greater levels of investment, to create larger and more dynamic private sectors, to make more productive farms. Africa needs not more small businesses, but rather large firms, which bring together talent and tech more efficiently. This will lead to productivity gains and economic transformation seen elsewhere in the emerging world. A new generation of leaders with ambition who are able to inspire their populations with a vision to provide better public goods, to crack down on corruption. They've got to make governance more effective. And it's that new generation that Obi is cultivating through the Sppg and that we are supporting at Yale International Leadership Center. And yesterday we ran a workshop for Sppg alumni, and we spent 4 hours together imagining an optimistic future for Nigeria and how to get there. And I was so impressed by the character, the competence, the capacity of the participants. People with energy, passion, commitment to building a better Nigeria. People with great levels of emotional intelligence. And these emerging leaders are leaders of the good society, leaders who live their lives with purpose. You've got one life. How are you going to live it? How are you going to use your leadership position for the benefit of those less fortunate? What are you going to do to make your time on earth meaningful? It was Socrates who said that the unexamined life is not worth living. So what is a mental health crisis? I see also as a leadership crisis. It's not unique to Africa, but maybe it's most severe here. And my wish for Africa is for leaders who grasp the continent's potential and who are committed to enabling citizens to develop to their full potential so that they can lead flourishing lives, lives that are productive, lives that contribute to the prosperity of their communities, countries, and continent, lives that are worth living. And this will make a tremendous contribution to addressing the brain health and mental well-being of Africans. And it's incumbent on all of us around the world to help. For the well-being of everyone in the world is going to depend on the next generation of African leaders and the future flourishing of Africa. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emma Sky, for your lovely words and reminder. You've got one life. How are you going to live it? And now, ladies and gentlemen, to put the big ideas in Big Ideas platform, please welcome Dr. Andrew Nevin, the Director of Brainomics Venture. Dr. Andrew Nevin is the inaugural Director of Brainomics Venture at the Center for Brain Health, UT Dallas, where he pioneers the study of the economic impact of brain health interventions, bridging neuroscience and economics. A Rhodes Scholar with a PhD from Harvard and 35 years of global experience, Nevin is a leading voice for the flourishing policy concept and recently served as Chief Economics at PwC Nigeria. Dr. Nevin, we can hear you.
Good morning, everyone. Just delighted to be here. Can you hear me well? Good morning, everyone.
Yes, we can see you.
Okay. And I do have a few slides today, as always, if they're going to be presented. But thank you. It's just great to be with all my brothers and sisters from SPPG. I still remember the day back in 2019 when I visited Madame Obi in Berlin, and we discussed the SPPG concept at that time when she was reflecting on it. And it's remarkable for me to see the growth and development of SPPG and be with you all today. I routinely tell people that I think SPPG is the most important institution on the continent of Africa, will have the greatest difference. If my slides aren't going to be shared there, I can share them from my screen. Please let me know which way we're going to do it. All right, let me go ahead and share my slide. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we're talking about brain health and brain performance. You can see in my background, I'm actually talking to you from Dallas. As introduced, I'm a professor at the Center for Brain Health at the University of Texas at Dallas. So neuroscientist. My background is from a room in our Brain Performance Institute. And those are glass neurons on the ceiling, which have not just the neurons, but also the white matter and the gray matter that make our brains perfectly able to function properly. Next slide, please. And I'm going to give you a very big idea, which is if we're going to talk about brain, this is not for someone here today, for everyone at SPPG, and you have to know a little neuroscience. At the Center for Brain Health, we have a very simple way of thinking about this. You teach someone that their brain works, how to use their brain better. They have better brain health, better brain performance, and a better life. And I want to start with what is the most important thing about the brain, which is a concept of neuroplasticity. And the idea here is simple, which is that your brain changes every moment, every day on that, and it's changing throughout your lifetime on it. And I have to tell you how critical this idea is, because when I was in college in the United States in the 1970s, when I went to the pub for a beer, you were told that every beer you had, you lost 10,000 neurons, you'd never get them back. And there was a view that the brain was a fixed thing. It in fact turns out this was completely wrong. Your brain is the most malleable part of your body, and neuroplasticity is at the core of all of the thinking that we now have about brain health and brain performance. Next slide, please. And when I say it changes every moment of your life, everything that you do has an impact on your brain. The way you breathe, we could do some yoga breathing exercises that would have an impact on your brain right now. Physical activity, of course, there are things that negatively affect your brain. We think about excess stress. The one that I want to leave you with today is multitasking. Multitasking is a huge problem in the Nigerian community. I can tell you that it damages your brain every time you do it. Lack of sleep is one. So if you take nothing else away, I want you to take away today that you're the one that's affecting how your brain performs, both this week but over time. Next slide, please. So the big idea is you are the architect of your own brain. So as you leave today and think about it, and the whole SPPG community, I don't want this to be a conversation just about how you help others, how you affect the community, the big policy ideas. I want it to be about what you are going to do for your own brain to perform better. Next slide, please. Of course, one question you should be asking is, we have an entire conference with the theme of brain health. What is brain health? Next slide, please. So here's the definition of it. It's harnessing your brain skills to thrive in your element. So it's about cognitive health, about emotional well-being, about connectedness to people and purpose. But what I want you to notice about this definition is when we say brain health, we're not talking about decline. We're not talking about disease, dementia, mental illness on that. The starting point is everyone has a brain. How is your brain performing today? Labeling that brain performance is not helping. The issue is, can your brain be better? Many of you may think that if you get to a certain age, like my age, and of course, I was in university in the 1970s, so you can guess how old I am. You may say that my best brain years are behind me. Actually, what we find at the Center for Brain Health is if you do the right things, your best brain years are ahead of you. Your best brain year is next year. And I want you to think about brain health and brain performance in the context of everyone, how the brain performs today, how it can perform better, and not in the context of disease, decline, dementia, mental illness. Next slide, please. Ready to test yourself. The thing about the brain is it needs to be active. So me standing up here and saying words to you is not engaging your brain. So I want to wrap up my time by giving you a little quiz to leave you thinking about how your brain is performing today. So if you have well, old school, a pencil and paper, that would be great. If you have your iPhone, you can make it go to the notepad now and answer a few simple questions to see how is your brain performing today. So first question, next slide. Okay, so all these questions are a scale from 0 to 4. 0 is all the time, 4 is never. So how often are you on your phone as soon as you open your eyes in the morning and until you close them at night? And be honest, I lived in Nigeria longer than any other place I lived as an adult. I know how Nigeria works. Next slide. Next slide. Sorry, next slide. So how often are you engaging in multiple tasks and or conversations simultaneously? And again, be honest, how many of you are trying to do many things at the same time? Next slide. Next slide. Next slide, please.
Of technical issues, we'll be right with you in this.
Are we still together?
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, next slide, please. Oh no, we've lost the slides. Do you want me to project?
The projection is coming back up.
Sister, are you there?
Yes. It should be coming back up any minute now.
I think we've been hacked. All right, next slide, please.
The slides are back up.
Nima, are we able to continue? I think we're being hacked on Zoom.
Dr. Navin, I think our slides are coming back up, but I think you may continue if you can hear us. Dr. Nevin, can you hear us? Share your slides, please, Dr. Nevin. Dr. Nevin, are you able to share your slides?
I'm here. So we were just doing our quiz. So if we can continue, how often are you engaging in multiple tasks? We did this one, question 2. How often are you in back-to-back meetings or tasks without taking breaks in between? So 0 to 4. 0 all the time, 4 never. How often are you cruising on autopilot? So one of the things about the brain is that if the brain's not challenged, it will just do the normal rote things. And I have to confess, if you're doing the normal rote things, your brain is not performing. And too often, we are just an autopilot. We think we're engaging the brain and we're not. How often are you sitting at your desk for hours on end? This has a huge impact on your brain performance. Next question. Very interesting one. How often do you tackle your to-do list in whatever order it appears? So the way you organize your cognitive energy is not based on the nature of the task, it's just based on the random list that you've put together on that. 0 all the time, 4 never. How often do you reach the end of your workday and have no energy left for your personal life? So you've organized your workday in a way that you've essentially drained your mental your brain battery during the course of the day. So 8 questions. Some of you may have scored, some of you may not have scored, but I think you know where we're heading with this, right? Helpful or harmful? If you score 0 to 7, you're running your brain on empty. Your brain is not performing. And again, I want to emphasize this, when we talk brain health and performance, it's not about others, it's not about our community yet. It starts with you realizing how your own brain works and how you optimize your own brain performance. If you were one of those people that's at 16 to 23 or 24 to 32, fantastic, working well, you're able to perform better. And of course, where this is all is, you are your own neuroengineer. We have this view of the brain as a fixed thing. We may be thinking that what we do affects others' brains. You're the person that builds your own brain on that. And the most important part working effectively is what we call executive function. So essentially you're the CEO of your own brain. You're the one who's in charge of whether your own brain works well or not. And the CEO function does all the really critical things at the higher order for the brain. Some of them are listed here. One of them that's most critical is filtering and selecting of information. One of the things that happens in the modern world, as we all know, is there's too much information. And your ability to control your strategic attention is one of the most important factors in your brain working well. Now, one thing you may be saying to yourself is, well, that's all very interesting, Andrew, but I don't see the relationship between the kind of functions that I perform with my brain and what's happening physically with my brain. I can tell you, coming from the Center for Brain Health at the University of Texas at Dallas, we have immense evidence that this is happening all the time. There are physical things that go, when you use your brain properly, when your brain is performing at a high level, when it's doing the things it was designed for in the way it was designed for, you have physical manifestations. I mean, this is a simple picture here of a neuron. Which neuron is healthier? You know the answer to that, the one on the right here. What you do affects the physical capabilities of the brain every moment of the day, as I said, from every action that you take. And of course, one of the things, if I leave you with nothing else, or 2 things, you're the architect of your own brain. One of the things that is most damaging to your brain performance is multitasking. The brain is actually not designed about multitasking. As I said before, we come from the perspective you need to teach people a little neuroscience. So here's a little neuroscience. The brain is designed to do one thing at a time. When you switch to another task, there's a neural load for that switching, and it drains your energy from the brain. So if you have a task and you're in the middle of it, you then get pinged on your computer and a message comes up. You then switch to that message to deal with it. You've used neural energy to make that transition. You've now used neural energy to make the transition back to the original task. And effectively, you've used too much neural energy to complete the 2 tasks. You would have been much more effective if you simply focused on the task at hand, didn't allow the messaging to ping into your system, and then went on to the next task after that, on that. So let me stop there. I'm over my 10 minutes, and I want to leave you with a few really big ideas here on that. And so the biggest idea of all is you are the architect of your own brain. Brain health, brain performance matters, and it matters for you individually. And I'd like to start this revolution for brain health in Africa with people at SPPG taking cognizant of their own brain health and brain performance. Because once you're able to optimize your peak performance for your brain, you're going to know how to take that to your community, into your sphere of influence. So you're the architect of your own brain. You need to know a little bit of neuroscience to be able to do that. We have programs that can help you with that, but there's lots of resources to teach you neuroscience. So learn some neuroscience. Make sure your brain is performing well. If your brain performs well, you're going to find that in your community, your sphere of influence, that you're going to be able to improve brain health, brain performance, and flourishing for everyone. So let me pause there. I'll stop sharing. And just again, it is always an immense an immense it is always an immense honor to be with SPPG. As I said before, I was with Madame Obi when she began this. I've watched the development over the years. I've been a volunteer faculty many times, and this organization, as I said, I think will have the most impact on Africa over the medium and long term. So God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nevin, for reminding us that we are the architects of our brain, and for your graciousness with our technical difficulties. Please join me in welcoming our second speaker, Anike Adefunke Treasure Akintoye, an award-winning media personality and menstrual health advocate.
Thank you.
Sppg Funke Treasure Akintoye, a multiple award-winning, multi-genre media personality and social entrepreneur. Highly skilled in radio, TV, print media, literature, and digital media, Funke Treasure is a sought-after media trainer, conference facilitator, moderator, speaker, and panelist across Nigeria, West Africa, and the wider African continent. She has mentored scores of broadcasters and journalists in Nigeria, Liberia, and Burkina Faso in partnership with leading media capacity and development organizations. She is the executive director of the Illuminate Nigeria Development Network, lead consultant at Yellow Bloom Consulting, and a certified coach, speaker, and facilitator with the John Maxwell team. As the convener of the Sanitary Pad Media Campaign, a menstrual health advocacy group, and founder of the Funke Treasure Table Tennis Championship for Girls, Funke Treasure is dedicated to empowering communities and raising awareness. Her radio drama, My Period, My Pride, aired on 36 radio stations, including Radio Nigeria, Africa's largest radio network. Her podcast, My Period Stories, airs weekly on multi-choice cable TV channel Africa Magic Family, reaching audiences across sub-Saharan Africa. Funke Treasure retired voluntarily from Radio Nigeria as an assistant director of programs in 2019. She serves on the boards of several organizations, including the International Press Center and the African Diaspora Contemporary Arts Company. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Anike Adefunke Treasure Akintoye.
Thank you.
To address the Big Ideas platform.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me to the Big Ideas platform. It's my second coming. The first time I was the compere of the very first edition, and now I'm here as a speaker. Growth, right? Right. I come to this event today with 6 years experience being on the field as a campaigner, a community organizer, and scholar in the last 2 years in menstrual health. And my big idea, can we have the slides, please? So I bring here my experiences on the field. I quickly realized after a while that distributing pads will not cut it for me and the population of people I wanted to influence with my work in the menstrual health space. And so my big idea, next slide please. My big idea is destigmatizing menstruation through open dialogue in the media. I've worked in the media for the past 28 years. I know the power of the media and the influence the media can wield in changing the narrative completely in terms of menstrual health. The girls you see there are those who were on the podcast with us, girls from Bariga, girls from Ajegunle, whose voices were amplified on a continental platform. So blood is life. Menstruation plays a crucial role in perpetuating human population. Menstruation is a site of a lot of things to women. But first, let's look at mental health. It is the person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well-being. It is the foundation for emotions, thinking, communication, learning, resilience, self-esteem, hope. It can stem from a complex interplay of biological, psychological, and environmental factors. You see there statistics about menstrual health in Nigeria adolescents, but we have global statistics as well. But first, let me go back to the types of mental health that we have. There is the mood disorders. There are 4 types of mental health. Mood disorders, such as depression, or bipolar disorder. There is anxiety disorders. There is personality disorders. And the extreme one, psychotic disorders. Now, next slide, please. What we've done is to look at how mental health impacts adolescents and women, and to say, look, this brings anxiety. Why? Because there are many things with in terms of mental health. They're dealing with anxiety, they're dealing with distress, they're very fallen about where the next supply of menstrual items to manage their menstruation is going to come from. They have period disorders that is stressing them out, and they also have to go to work. So we decided we will deal with this from the media perspective by creating this campaign and creating a podcast that we can use to clarify a lot of issues with women, men, boys, and the entire society. Next slide, please. And so we created the My Period Stories podcast, essentially also because we wanted to deal with the silence around periods, because even that silence is impacting on the mental health of a lot of menstruators, because it's almost like an oath of silence. Nobody wants to say, oh, I am not even menstruating, because that's a condition as well, and that impacts on the mental well-being of menstruators. Some people deal with, dysmenorrhea, painful menstruation. Some people deal with endometriosis. And so we thought we should start looking at storytelling in public health communication. And because I'm here today, I'm looking at the intersection of menstrual health and mental health. Next slide, please. So we also recognize that in storytelling, narratives are ideological. It's important who is telling the story and whose stories are being told and how we're telling the stories. So for us, we started with people with disabilities. The woman there works with the deaf, and we had 3 series of episodes on the excluded. And the girls there were talking about their experiences in school and in their families. It is important to know that there are power relations in the telling of stories, and we need to address that as well in the storytelling, in embracing open dialogue, in destigmatizing menstruation. Next slide, please. So, stories. Stories are fundamental to many cultures across the world. Stories means whereby we hand down values and norms and myths and all kinds of interesting things year on year, generations after generations. Storytelling is important. So we decided, looking globally at the narrative about menstruation, we recognized that the pre-colonial African narrative is missing. In that photo on your screen, you see women holding fowl. Let me call it fowl, okay? In Ijebu land in southwest Nigeria, once a girl sees a first menstruation, it's called Minaki. They get a fowl, they kill it for her, they celebrate that instance. They celebrate. But you see, nowadays, that narrative, and it's in almost all cultures, that narrative is missing in the global narrative. We've jettisoned our own African narrative about menstruation, the celebratory thing about it, the becoming rituals that come with menstruation. We've jettisoned it, and we've begun to see it as a curse and a burden. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, there's a need to reframe menstrual health. There's a need to begin to disabuse the minds of our young teenagers that menstruation is a site of sexualization, that menstruation is a site of self-objectification. We need to reframe the narrative about menstrual health, that it is not about shame and shaming, that it is not about abjection, that it is not a curse, it is not a burden, it is not a disability, although some people see it as a disability, and I'm coming there. And we should also reframe it in such a way that girls and women do not see menstruation as a source of moral panic. And yes, people will panic if they're dealing with period poverty, if they do not have the access to the items they need to maintain their menstruation. And a lot of teenagers are on this table. They understand what I'm saying. In that photo, we brought girls from Ajegunle from Bariga to the studio to tell their stories. It's one of my favorite episodes of our podcast because, we were able to bring girls to the living rooms of people to give clarity to the issues they were dealing with. Next slide, please. And inclusion. When we started the Pat Scholarship expression of our sanitary media campaign, we went to Ibadan, Cheshire Home. There's a high school there, and it's for children, boys and girls living with disabilities. And that's where we met this young lady on wheelchair. For the first time since I started the campaign, I realized that there's a whole string of issues regarding those menstruators living with disabilities. I realized from this young lady that it is a lot of stress to menstruate as somebody living with disability. And many times they need caregivers. They need people who can be frustrated in the process of caring for them. I got to know that some of them are even sterilized without their consent. I got to know that they suffer a lot of violations, discriminations, and there's a lot of violence around girls with disabilities who are menstruating. So the story of the excluded is important in our menstrual narratives. It's not just about distributing pads in communities. It is about giving clarity, embracing open dialogue in the media, not consigning menstrual health to commemorative days. World Menstrual Hygiene Day is coming, and so hey, we're looking for experts, we're looking for people who have something to say. No, it should be intentional, because menstruation, as I said when I started, is responsible for perpetuating the human population. But for women, there will be no continuity for mankind. And so, all should be included. We should begin to prioritize menstrual dignity. Women should be able to menstruate in dignity. And it's not going to happen if we continually shame women for the conditions that they go through when they menstruate. When you see people, girls or women who have hair on, in certain parts of their body, we laugh. But they're going through mental stress. They're going through mental torture. When I went for my master's degree in South Africa some years back, I had to return to Nigeria to remove my womb because I was having fibroids and I'd done 2 surgeries of fibroids. There was not going to be a 3rd surgery. If it was going to happen, I would have to remove my womb. Luckily, I didn't, because I think the doctor just chickened out. But I have friends who have done it. In our season 2 of my period stories on Africa Magic Family, which will come before the end of the year, the first guest we spoke with was a woman who had to remove a womb, married with 2 children. But the mental stress, the anxiety, the lows and highs of taking that decision, she shared with us. I have another friend who'd never been married, had no children. She had to remove her womb because she couldn't deal with fibroids, the complications of fibroids anymore. And she called me on a hospital bed. She said, Funke, I heaved a sigh of relief when I came to, after the what's it called now, wore off. She said, I looked at myself and said, finally, I can have my life back. That tells you that menstruation, there's an intersection between menstruation and mental well-being of a lot of menstruators, much more than you can ever imagine. I had somebody who lives with endometriosis who was on my Period Stories podcast. She said to us, endometriosis is an invisible disability. She says, I go everywhere with my box of medication. If she didn't say it, you wouldn't know, because she travels a lot. And a lot of women are dealing with a lot of menstrual disorders that we need to be empathetic about. Next slide, please. And so at the Sanitary Pad Media Campaign, we're looking at how we can continually normalize period conversations, not only to deal with mental stresses that women go through, but to bust that habit of silence around issues pertaining to menstruation. We have the radio drama serial, we have the essay competition. The PAT Scholarship is our community outreaches to urban and rural areas where we have the vulnerable. And then we started actually that podcast with an audio version, which is what you see there. In all that we do, we're trying to normalize period conversations. And as I said, my big idea is to destigmatize menstruation through open dialogue in the media. Next slide, please. This woman suddenly started chatting me up one afternoon. She said, Funke, what you're doing is so needful. I am in the market, sitting down on a slab. Market women are coming to me with water, with malts, with pain relieving tablets. It's my period again. I didn't know it was going to come when I came out to shop. I'm feeling dizzy. I'm feeling like fainting. We invited her over to the second season of our podcast. And at some points during the podcast, she couldn't control herself. She almost started crying. We had to take a break. What am I saying? There's a correlation between menstruation and your brain health. A lot of women are going through mental torture that they can't verbalize. And we, the media, need to amplify menstruation. Why? Because it is, as I said, at the center of perpetuating the human population. We need to continually destigmatize. We need to embrace storytelling. It is important because in telling stories, we close the gap that statistics give us, that data give us. We find ourselves in the shoes of the women who are menstruating and dealing with their mental and have their mental health messed up. We need to embrace open dialogue. We, the media, have the power to influence much more than the influencers on social media, because we have this traditional media. We can combine with social media and do the needful and push the narrative about menstrual health. So my advice to policymakers, and that quote I have over there, is that narratives close the gap. In listening to the stories of women who are menstruating, you can create an entirely new curriculum that will pull in our teenagers into more knowledge about access, about what's going on in their bodies. I remember when we were at Bariga, a girl came to us and said, but you know, I don't see it all the time. Did you tell your mom? No. Have you told your teachers? No. So even teenagers are dealing with irregular periods, and it's affecting them, but they're not talking. So policymakers, I know that we have the guidance and counseling units, but we mental health units in secondary schools as well. Whether we're going to merge it with guidance and counseling units, or it's going to be a standalone, I don't know, but you need to listen to the stories, you need to find clarity in the stories that people are telling, and create better ways for women who constitute 50% of Nigeria's population to be more productive, for our girls to stop being absent in schools, because lack of access is a greater reason, is the pivotal reason why girls are absent from school. And when girls are absent from school, they cannot attain that level that we want them to attain to contribute to national development. So my fellow innovators, I want you to remember that Africa is the bedrock of civilization. I said that with my full chest. So we need to include the African narrative in everything that we do. We need to prioritize how we Africans celebrate menstruation. I read HODAP 2024. She did her research in Tanzania. And the things I wrote there were the things that she talked about. She said is the starting point of life, menstruation, that is. It is to parenthood, to communal respect. It is not a burden. It is not never a burden or a curse. It is, we are important, and we need to dignify menstruators. Finally, to the public, please empathize with menstruators. When you have somebody who is irritable in your office, it is not the time to say, oh, women, they're like that. Maybe she's doing that thing. No, please note that menstruation is not the same experience for every woman. Some people don't even care. They don't have any complications, but a lot more women have complications. Our girls, they are anxious, they're irritable, they're depressed. There is PMDD, I think. That one, you get depressed a week before your period, you get depressed a week after your period. How do you manage that if you're in the workplace? So we need to show more empathy. We need to embrace dialogue. We need to tell our friends, our women, everywhere to speak out. Because if we don't speak out, our policymakers will know what to do. And I thank the Bauchi State government for that bill, which has gone to the governor for accent. When the governor approves, in Bauchi State, there will be pad banks. In Bauchi State prisons, where we have a lot of control over women, will have access to pads. And when I started the Period Stories podcast, somebody said to me, you're crazy. Where are you going to get the content to go on? You're not going to last beyond 2 quarters. I said, watch me. Because I can do a quarter, 13-week episode on inclusion alone. And nobody thinks of what women go through in the prisons, because there's a lot of violence going on there arising from menstruation. Finally, we need to know that post-COVID pandemic has taught us that the workplace can be a better place. We can work from home. So there is remote work now. I am appealing to our policymakers to consider menstrual leave for those who have difficult menstruation. In our audio podcast, I spoke with this man, Muka Salumbu, who was the head of the National Institute of Human Relations in Zambia, where they have menstrual leave. I was curious. In Nigeria, I hear people tell me, Funke, come down from your high horse. It's not going to happen in Nigeria. They're going to abuse it, and they're going to be going on all kinds of leave, left, right, and center. Besides, you women, you are insatiable. You have 3 Mother's Day. You have maternity leave. Now you're asking for menstrual leave. Wow. You guys, you think the world revolves around you. Yes, it does, actually. It does. However, we are not contending with the men. We are asking for compassion, for kindness, for empathy. We're asking that we can have menstrual leave in our labor laws to make the world a better place, to make menstruators better positioned to contribute, to be productive. Finally, I will leave in the words of Chris Bobel and Elizabeth Kissington. They are menstrual scholars. They said, menstruation matters, and so do the ways we talk about it, write about it, and illustrate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Funke Treasure, for that moving and necessary call to make menstrual dignity and health central to our collective future. And now, please join me in welcoming our third speakers, Chuba and Chinemelum Ezekwesili, fondly called the Ezekwesili twins, designers and co-founders of Akanka.
To address the Big Ideas Platform 2025 are Chinemelum and Chuba Ezekwesili, co-founders of Akanka, an interdisciplinary design studio that creates designs to inspire peace, joy, and happiness. Through Akanka, the Ezex twins have collaborated with prominent global brands such as Google, the World Economic Forum, Yale University, the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, Duke University, Nexford University, GIZ, and the Open Society Foundations, delivering innovative solutions that merge creativity with purpose. Passionate about connecting humans to themselves, others, and nature, Chinemelum's and Chuba work embodies their commitment to wellness, sustainability, and mindful living. Their deep understanding of the philosophy of nature and nature's framework of intention drives their vision of making the world a better place through intentional and compassionate action. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chine and Chuba Ezekwesili.
Thank you all. Given there were two, can we please get another mic? Thank you. Yeah, because we're going to be performing, so you can't be using one mic to perform. So 2 mics, please. But we'll start with this one. Thank you all and welcome. I'm Chuba Ezekwesili.
And I'm Chinemelum Ezekwesili.
So we're going to dive right in, and we've heard so much from a lot of our wonderful speakers so far. So we're going to skip a couple of slides and just go straight into the story and what our big ideas is. And we have something beautiful to show you all, so hope you're ready to enjoy. Next slide, please. Just keep skipping until I let you know. Aha, we're good. So earlier, a speaker we've talked about the problems that we've faced when it comes to the world that we live in today around mental health.
Yeah. Conflict,
Loneliness,
stress.
and depression. So all problems that we're familiar with, we've heard from so many people so far. So the question for us is, how do we solve these problems for ourselves? And Dr. Nevin said earlier about how we are the architects of our brain. We would like to say that we are the designers of our
Mindset.
We are the designers of our mindset. So we're going to talk about what it looks like for us to design our mindset and what nature has taught us about designing our mindsets. Next slide, please. So, next slide, please. Yes. Next slide, please. What is our solution for designing mindsets? Our solution is a nature-inspired. Actually, can we walk around? I'd like to. Our solution is a nature-inspired, science-backed framework to nurture emotional intelligence, mental health, and well-being. You use that framework, it completely transforms how you can design mental health. And the framework is called?
Nature's framework of intention.
Or the framework. And it's going to make sense soon why we call it the framework, because it is the framework. Next slide, please. So we're going to start with a story. And the story is how we came about this framework that was taught to us from nature. Next slide, please.
So during the 2020 lockdown, we spent every single day of that period gardening, just trying to transform what it is that you see there, which is the walkway of our studio, from that to
This.
Yes, that is the same space, the same picture, the same view.
Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So that's the other side of the space. That's the back. And it went from that to this. And from that to this. Thank you. That's magical, right? Yes. And you see the process of doing that, really spending so much time with nature. And I say Chine and I spent every single day gardening from like morning until night time. Just gardening. I mean, I'm saying shovels, sand, everything. And that process really taught us this steps to intentionality, how we can be more intentional about our mindset. And the first step is
To slow down,
and the second step is to,
give gratitude,
and the third step is to,
take responsibility.
yes. They sound so simple, but are so profoundly essential to how we live our lives. So we're going to talk about what these steps look like contextually, quickly, and then we're going to have some case studies where everyone will get to think about an episode in their lives where they could have applied these steps of the framework and how they can apply it in the future. So first step, we're just going to delve in a little bit, right? So first step is to slow down. It says when we slow down, we find the headspace to focus, to reflect, to make clear decisions about the future we want to see. Slowing down gives us the ability to be more intentional.
Give gratitude. When we give gratitude, well, we cultivate a positive mindset and are able to have a very positive approach to life as opposed to always complaining. We get the chance to see the good in everything.
And then finally, to take responsibility. And we take responsibility for our thoughts, our feelings, our actions every moment. It really empowers us to create the reality we want to see. Next slide, please. So we're just going to pause here for a second and talk about how these steps sound like separate steps. But remember, we call this a framework. So what it means is that it's a system. And the system is more than just the combination. It's about the interaction of those different elements. So think about the framework or the steps of the framework like playing a video game. Think about your life like a game. And if you're the player in the game of life, what steps would you take that would make you more intentional?
You slow down. You first of all slow down to see what is the point of the game. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to accomplish? What is your intention?
And you give gratitude and say, as a player in this game, what do I have? What can I do? How can I tap into my network, my friends, my families, people I know, the things I'm grateful for? And it gives you the energy boost to then
play the game
by taking responsibility. So now we're going to just dive into what's an example. A lot of us have dealt with anger issues. I have, for sure. Yeah. So how do you respond in a situation, for example, where you're angry? What do you do? Now let's use this gamepad to play the game. Number one, start by slowing down. So just think back to the last time you were angry. And I'm sure everyone had the last time they were angry.
Yeah.
Right? So just think back to the last time you were angry and say, okay, if I had slowed down in that time, what would I have done differently? Would I start by breathing? By walking away?
Or journaling about it.
And then think to yourself again, if I was being grateful in that moment, would I slow down and think about what I'm grateful for about the other person, or about the situation, or about life in general, so that I don't tunnel vision myself into focusing on what's gone wrong or what I'm angry about, right? And just think to yourself, this is an exercise for everyone. Just spend some time thinking about it. Any situation you were in, if you were more grateful, what would you have been grateful for in that situation?
And then finally, you take responsibility for actually communicating calmly. See, when we're angry, the most important thing we can do is actually ensure that we're communicating as calmly as possible. Because when we're not, then it only just exacerbates the anger. And it helps for us to always take responsibility for what we want to see. And so what we want to see is a calm situation. So situation, it means we communicate calmly, we get a calm situation.
Yeah, so you can see how you can use those steps in a situation of anger. Now let's talk about a situation of anxiety. A lot of us can tend to get anxious. Things get us anxious. There's a whole lot that's happening in the world today. It's easy to be anxious. How do we navigate with a framework? Well, number one, you start by slowing down. I want this audience to be a lot more interactive. Let's interact. Number one, you start by...
There we go.
Now we'll get much louder. Love it. You start by slowing down. So in the moment of anxiety, start by slowing down, just breathing and remembering that it's a moment. And like moments, like nature teaches us, it's going to come and it's going to go. So start by slowing down and start by reflecting and asking yourself, why do I feel the way I feel? Why do I feel anxious in this very moment? What can I do about it? And then journal about it, write about it. A lot of times we feel anxious and the moment goes away and then we forget about the moment and the next moment of anxiety shows up and then we get anxious again. But if you journal about it, then at least you have a record that reminds you that you've been here before. So that's the first step. And the second step
is to be grateful. List all the reasons there are to be grateful. Whenever we feel anxious, we're usually feeling anxious because it's a state of scarcity. We feel as though we're missing something, as though something is not present. But when we can slow down and ask ourselves, well, what is present? What do we have that we once wanted before? What was a dream that is now a reality? Once we can find those things and we can actually put them down, we give ourselves a chance to remember that what it is that we're anxious about will move, it will go, and one day we will be fine.
Yes. So remember, slow down, remind yourself of a time when you've been anxious in the past and how things have gotten better. So you realize that this new moment isn't going to be any different from the last one. And then finally, take responsibility. You must take a step. It's not enough to be like, I'm grateful. Now you must actually act towards ensuring that whatever is causing that anxiety, you've removed, right? By taking just a small step. A lot of times people are anxious because everything feels so huge and large and daunting. But if you can just take one step that moves you towards your goal, you will find the anxiety eases because now you've taken responsibility for playing the game. So yes, a couple of feedback, but we just want to round up by saying, just like Dr. Nevin did, you are the architect of your brain, right? And would like to say that you are the
designers of your mind.
You are the designers of your mind, and you have a very clear way to design your mind. In any moment where you feel anxious, annoyed, stressed, angry, even happy, any one of the emotions, ask yourself, how can I slow down? How can I? And how can I? Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful.
Clap for yourselves, clap for yourselves. Fantastic.
Yes. Now that is the framework of intention, nature's framework of intention, or the framework. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuba and Chinamelun, for showing us that design is not just about what something looks like, but about what it does and how it makes us feel. and for sharing the framework to slow down, be grateful, and take responsibility. And now, we've heard from our speakers, from brain economics to menstrual health to the design of our lives. We've seen how bold ideas can shape 2025 and beyond. And we hold on to the energy and inspiration from these powerful voices. Let's take a moment to pause, breathe, and reflect. And to guide us through this is someone whose words speak to both the heart and the mind. Please welcome Esinet the poet.
Good morning, everyone. It's always an honor to do a spoken word poem here at SPPG. And the title of my spoken word is The Clarion Call. And we will hear many things today. Things that will make you want to shout. But there are some poems that don't make you gyrate or celebrate, not make you stand up. They make you pause and think, and really think ayonder. I woke up one morning from a deep slumber, and in my mind I began to ponder on an ancient question many in my generation have no intention of knowing about, caring about, or simply can't answer. What does it mean to nurture a mind in a place where struggles are many, where you are twice as likely to experience tragedy? What does it mean to nurture a mind in a place where hopes are fragile, where the importance of human life is based on the size of your pocket and a shiny profile? Just pause, allow it to sink in. From those that are here to those at a distance, no pretense. The continent of promise and pain. The continent of promise and pain. A land of ancient kingdoms, once thriving under the brilliant sun. But now, most of our people's minds are shackled in hunger and sickness, in pain, disdain. There is no hope. There is no going forward or moving backward. And today, they still call us the continent that is backward. Yet we have all the minerals and the resources. They won't let us go. You see, we are descendants of ancient territories and ancient kingdoms. From Great Ife, where bronze statue heads were molded with steady hands. From Kanem Borno, where scholars were filled with knowledge and taking flight. From Unsuka's heavyweights, their earthworks rising with silent might. Yet in our villages and our cities today, a boy named Toluwani loses his sleep over malaria, and there is no doctor in sight to save him from death's grip. A girl named Zainab struggles, though she has bright eyes and dreams like fire. She experiences pain, secretly solving for support, but deals with unseen scars. Her mind is plagued with traumas of conflict. From a rampage of her village in a tender age, a place where that was filled with laughter. Laughter bloomed and now lies in ruins. by time it has been consumed. Add to the mix maternal health challenges, educational disruptions, toxic crisis. Tramadol has become the new Panadol. Infuse abuse. All this is capped by poor mental health services. They say brain health is not important, it is less urgent because it is less visible than wounds on skin and bones. So those in power whisper, let them remain silent. Never let them know the strength that lies in understanding the power of a mind that is free and a mind that is healthy. Let them remain silent, work on their thoughts, dim their hopes, and let the cycle continue to turn as the nation slowly burns. And so from generation to generation, the struggle of our minds has worsened. But this is a clarion call to the young men and young women of our nation, to the seeds of our continent. This is a clarion call to Nigerians and Africans at large, those who understand the power of mental emancipation. Arise. How long will you stay asleep? How long will you stay asleep? It is time to wake up. It is time to tend to our gardens' minds. It is time to say no, to understand that AI, artificial intelligence, should not suffocate our natural intelligence. This is a clarion call to the sons and daughters of our nation, to the seeds of the continent, those who understand the power of mental emancipation. Arise, shake off your shackles, and in your minds, walk free. Thank you.
Another round of applause for that powerful recital by Esinet, the poet. And now, to open the Village Square conversation, it is my pleasure to welcome Rex Rim Ruke.
Hello, good morning everyone. I hope you're all doing well. As you all know, the Big Ideas platform is not just about having presentations, having people come in and talk. A good aspect or a very fundamental aspect of the Big Ideas platform is to have minds, great minds, idea generators come in, discuss, rub their minds together, and most importantly, generating new ideas that you seated here can go on and run with. And God willing, next year we'll come back and hear what you have done with with the ideas that have been mentioned so far. So it's my pleasure to welcome the following people to join the Big Ideas, the Village Square conversation. A round of applause for Professor Mohammed Raji. Thank you, sir. Can we also have another round of applause for Mr. Apollo? Thank you very much. Can we also have another round of applause for Miss Priscilla? It's my pleasure as well to call for some of our speakers you've heard so far, Chinemelum and Chubeze Equisili. And let me call as well Mrs. Anike Ade Treasure. So let me start with a question to you, Prof. Doc. So what does the problem of mental health in Nigeria look like? from the perspective of who we are as a people, the perspective of, the citizens, and also the perspective of the government, because there might be things we've assumed are normal, but in reality are symptoms of a mental health issue. What are your thoughts on that?
Thank you so much. Actually, before I answer your question, let me thank the organizer for inviting me and my other colleagues. I really enjoyed all the 3 presentations. And I think most especially the presentation by Funke Treasure has made me really thank God that I'm not a woman. Because I realized that I may not be able to handle the pressures that women go through. I really respect you so much. Yeah, there's enormous mental health issues going on in the country. The unfortunate thing is that we do not have the adequate data that is really required. The cases we see in our hospitals are just a tip of the iceberg, actually. So, and usually that's where you get the data from. Unfortunately, the society has not realized mental health as something that is really, really very important. A number of times we have discountenanced or really made it insignificant. And because of the stigma attached, not many people really come out to mention the stresses they go through. Virtually every one of us here must have gone through some certain mental health issue or the other at one point or the other. And from what we can see, the presentations today, women really go through that a lot. And our younger generations also go through a lot of mental stresses.
So let me go over from there all the way here, and I'll end with pause with you. So what does that issue look like? So if we say mental health in Nigeria, what does it look like? If you can give maybe one example you think is common, something that might be overlooked as normal, but in reality it's not. It's a sign of mental health, or it's a sign of someone having some symptoms. And I'll end with, when I get to you, Mr. Apollo, the question now is, often you hear people, when someone talks about mental health, the response is, what's this? We don't really care about that. We have better things to worry about. But the issue is, there are impacts this have. And how do we sell the idea to the country, to the government, that look, you can't ignore this thing. This thing has consequences. So let me start from you, and we walk the way. Yes, we'll walk the way down.
This erroneous belief that mental health has to do with only adults. That's not true. Children also go through mental stress. Teenagers go through a lot of pressure that results into stress for them mentally. One area where people do not think young people have mental stress is in the living condition in Nigeria. We think they're not watching. We think they're not paying rent. Yeah, they're not paying bills, but they are as affected as we are. If your father or your mother used to live at a particular level of comfort and that has been jettisoned, you don't want to know how affected the children are. When there is divorce in the family, and there's a lot of that going on in the society nowadays, it has a lot of impacts on the children. They don't say it, but they're not assimilating in school. They're afraid. They have anxiety disorders that we adults are we're not paying enough attention to. And then I'm going to return to menstruation, because that's all I've done in the last 6 years. Yes, we need pad banks in schools. Some of the girls that I speak with say money to buy pads. Some of our girls are preyed upon by zaddies and uncles. In our drama series, we had Brother Laulu, who decided he was going to take care of this young teenage girl. At the end of the day, it resulted into teenage pregnancy. So you see, the lack of access to pads can result into teenage pregnancy. We're not looking at that. So I think I've said enough.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate something you said, because I noticed that a lot of the things, some of the issues you brought up were around the issue of education in schools. where we attribute issues of poor performance to other things, but we don't really talk about what is the mental state of the child. And yes, they failed the exam, but is there another cause to this? Is there the cause of malnutrition? What is the environment the child grows up in? Because these things have effects on the grade performance of that child. Very, very good point. Let me go over to you, Chine.
Hello, hello. Yes. Chuba.
I just had to wing it. I wasn't sure. I was like,
Next time, just say Ezex twins. I would say the environment. The environment in Nigeria can do a much better job to support just mental health. Like, we underestimate how much the environment matters, but when you're in Nigeria and you go outside, there are no trees, bad roads, agberos, or if you're in Lagos, it's even worse. The environment will really affects the mental health, and people might not realize it until you go to a different place and you realize, wow, why have we been living in hell when we can be living in heaven? So the environment really matters, and just the design of environments, I think the government needs to pay a lot more attention, to it. So that's what I would say is a particular focus.
So, Chine, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Hello. There we go. Okay, so I actually mirror my brother's opinion in terms of the environment. I think environment is absolutely necessary. I think right now we just saw a situation where they took light, right? And that's environment. And we know what the toll that has on the minds of people is real. You're more productive in environments where you know that there's going to be electricity. You're just a lot more comfortable, a lot more relaxed, especially given how hot it has been recently, right? You can't imagine a person in a hot environment being productive. You can't imagine a person in a hot environment actually having the headspace to do what it is that they need to do to move forward. It's just so much more difficult when the environment is not designed to enable the right mental state. So that's why we're very keen on ensuring that the environments that we exist in are designed to be spaces that allow the mind slow down, and that allow the mind have space to see things to be grateful for, and that allow people to take better responsibility.
Thank you. Just interesting thing you mentioned. You mentioned this word again, and I really loved it. Productivity, and it isn't just productivity as a person, but there's also the idea of the economic productivity. Look, if you want the GDP of Nigeria or the productivity of Nigeria to grow, you cannot ignore the issue of mental health. You need mental stability to be productive. A person who does not have to worry about electricity or where the next meal is coming from can do a lot more in terms of economic productivity than someone who's constantly running around trying to fix this or fix that. So you've mentioned schools, you've mentioned the environment. Let me go over to you, Ms. Priscilla.
Just want to ride on Anike when you started around how we often ignore children and their own mental health issues. In Brave Heart, we always say that a hungry child is a vulnerable child. And that's because 18 years of work in rural communities of Edo State, the data is very, very clear. We have a strong linkage between hungry children and sexual violence in rural communities. You'll be shocked the number of children here in Abuja. Your child is going to school, you have a school park, and you have one of you, either of the parents, who is doing what they call school run. In the rural community, there's nothing like school run. I did videos yesterday on my way traveling from Igara to Benin to catch a flight to come to Abuja. It took me 5 hours from Igara to go to Benin to come to Abuja. I'm explaining this because most times they say, oh, you're from Edo State, you're in Benin. And I say, no, I'm not in Benin. I'm at Igara. And it's very important to always mention your environment and your locality. And because I left the house very early, so it gave me opportunity to see school children who were all heading to school on what? On foot. Some of them maybe a little bit upgrade, they were then going on what? On motorcycle or on keke. Keke is like their own Range Rover in my area. Now, back to mental health. Many of these young children leave the house without food. Most of the parents in rural communities give their children 300 naira, 200 naira for what? For breakfast. They expect them to purchase akara and bread on their way to school. And that food is what is going to be on the child's stomach till 4 when the child closes. Some of the younger children close at 2. I'm even talking of public schools. So by the time private school, there's one lesson to extra lesson and all others. And then they see an adult on the road who then exploits their situation by offering them money, 500, 1,000 as the case may be. Many of the children are not even with their parents. They live with grandparents, taking us back to what? To poverty. Their real parents are where? In Abuja, in Lagos, in quotes, they are what? Hustling. And then at every month, maybe they send 50,000 to their parents, and they assume that 50,000 is what? Is big money. Meanwhile, 25 liters of palm oil is 65,000 as at yesterday. A sack, 40 kg of gari is 28,000 naira. I'm talking at Igara, not in Abuja. A cup of ogbono is 1,500. A cup of melon is 400 naira. Igara price. So by the time you check these prices here, and then you send 50,000. So what is happening? A lot of our children, there's child trafficking going on, child labor, all affecting their mental health. They move children from one place to the other because now they can no longer take care of them. So what do? They send that child to me or somebody else who lives in Benin to say, go live with who? Your auntie or your uncle, and then the slavery and the cycle of violence and stress. Remember, these children then grow to become what? Adults. So I'm taking the transition. So they move with all this stress as children, become dysfunctional adults, and then it continues. That same cycle, the young child has been abused, grow and start abusing other children and herself, and then this cycle continues. So solution is now the question.
Very good point you made. I think the first one is on the topic of the cycle. Someone who has been abused will end up or might end up abusing someone, and you have the cycle of abuse that keeps going on. And again, I keep going back to the topic of economic development, because you cannot have economic development without productivity, and you cannot have productivity without mentally stable and healthy people. So let me go over to you, Professor.
Yeah.
What was your picture of, or your idea of mental health in Nigeria? Are there things we've accepted as normal, when in reality it's not normal?
Yeah, it's definitely not normal. Unfortunately, the society has come to accept things as they are. I think we need to look at all these things holistically. One, there is the biological aspect of the individual. There are some, when we're talking about biology, means genetics. There are some certain disease traits that can be transferred onto a progeny. If a father or an uncle or somebody has it, it's likely that somebody might also have it, or a sibling, vice versa. So we need to look at that. Then we also need to look at also the individual characteristic of the person. Are you a smoker? There is a high chance of smokers, apologies for those who smoke here, there's a high preponderance of smokers to cerebrovascular diseases. With cerebrovascular diseases, they are likely to have mental health issues from strokes and things like that, and also schizophrenias and depressions, right? Alcohol abusers, other drug abusers. So that's the inherent character of the individual. Then you also need to look at some of the environmental factors, including these ones that they have mentioned. Have you imagined right now what's happening in places like Zamfara State, places like Borno, Maiduguri? Think of a child that was born when some gunshots he hears as soon as he's born. And then he keeps hearing this day after day. You can imagine the scar it will leave in his mind up to the time he grows up. These are things that you don't see scars on the skin like somebody was mentioning, but then it's something that lives with the person till death. Imagine someone seeing his father slaughtered or hijacked, or him being born in a captive's land. That is a severe damage on that person's brain until death. You cannot recover. Then we talked about the socioeconomic issues here. Yeah, I can be a professor, yes, but there are things I could probably afford a couple of years back when I wasn't at this level. But now it's difficult for me too. You understand? So they are talking about how this will also affect me and my children. Somebody mentioned that. What I can afford now, I mean, what I could afford before, I cannot afford. So my kids will have to adjust to that. You also need to look at the of government itself. Government has not yet realized that this is an issue that needs to be fully addressed. We spend a lot of money on maternal and child health, which, as they say, yeah, we agree. Women are the reason why there's a generation. But then the generation that's produced need to also be mentally stable. So we need to look at this. We also, so that means we need to have intentional effort to get countrywide data on the field, not hospital-based data. Hospital data is not fully reflective. Then when you get that countrywide data on the field, you can now form policies. In these policies, you target the individual, socioeconomic factors, the access to healthcare. Now, when a person has depression or anxiety, he wouldn't want to talk, he wouldn't even have access to a medic to talk to. He would rather go to one malam or one pastor to talk to, or just someone who just, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I think the couple of things you mentioned that really struck me was scars of the mind. You know, it's something that is not really visible, but has serious impact. And for those of you listening, you can see that the problem has come up again and again and again, which is data. How do you get data from the fields? Because the government needs this data to make informed policy decisions. So this is a problem that I'll throw to you as the crowd, as the audience, and our future idea generators. Is how do you get or gather this data, and how do you what's the pipeline like from the field data to the government? And Mr. Apollo, let me hear your thoughts as well. And he mentioned one thing is, how do you sell this idea that mental health is important to us as a people and to the government? That why should you take this seriously?
Right, thank you, Rex. I think the media has a huge role to play. It's a matter of education. There's a stigma already attached to the words mental. As soon as you utter the words, people start to think of the raven. Well, I shouldn't be, descriptive. The people who are mentally challenged around our cities, on the streets, and so on and so forth. As soon as you use the word mental, we cast our minds to these people. It takes a lot of education to tell people that, look, just like the professor said, many people are suffering from various degrees of mental illness. Some is treatable, some will require some medication, but first of all, you need to acknowledge and know what it is before you can move forward. So there's a need for a lot of education, and I think the media has a huge role to play in that. Truth be told, I don't think we are living up to our responsibility of agenda setting in that regard. There's a bit too much distraction going on, and so on and so forth. I had the rare privilege of interviewing these people, the speakers, during the podcast, and I learned a lot. And as an information manager, it's frightening to realize that we are undereducated about the critical things that are important to us. Professor, I come from the northeastern part of the country. I was actually going to mention what you talked about. There's an entire generation of people growing up that have known only one form of life, violence. Their mental state of mind has been greatly altered. In about 15 to 20 years' time, they will be adults in a society. So the picture of the Northeast 15 to 20 years from now is not encouraging. So while we're contending with today's problems, we need to project, look forwards, and anticipate tomorrow's problems and mitigate some of them, or else a floodgate is going to hit us. Funke Treasure talked about inclusion. Lots of people are excluded because a lot of us are fixated on trying to survive today. We forget tomorrow is going to come with its own problems. How equipped, how ready are we? Nigeria's state of mental health, as you say, the data is a huge problem, but from what we see, we've not attained our full potential. I'll give a very quick example. If you've had cause to go to a mechanic workshop to get your cars repaired, I don't know if you've noticed this. They're very basic tasks. If you study very closely, I'm a curious person as a journalist, if you study very closely the way some of these mechanics troubleshooting, even the most basic task, let's say, for example, they're trying to open one part of your car and there's a thing there holding it down. It requires you to push, twist, and open it up. They can't even figure out simple puzzles like this. They might whip out a screwdriver and break or pop it open because the brain isn't processing properly. It sounds humorous, but it's a huge problem. Their brains haven't had the chance to develop properly at early stage, which brings me as a journalist to another issue as well. This came up during COVID. The school feeding program. Many of us rose up in uproar. Hey, who are they feeding? They're chopping the money, let us scrap the program. It's a very good program. UNICEF, I think, was in the 70s, identified the critical needs to give children proper nutrition at a certain age so that their brain can develop properly. We're suffering from that because we're contending with hunger. The brains, they're not forming properly. So part of the school feeding program is to try to get these essential nutrients to these kids. So instead of saying they're chopping the money, throw it out, what we should do, again, should be driven by the media and civil society, is to insist the proper thing is done because it has real productivity consequences. So these are just some of the conversations I believe the media can spearhead. We need to take our position right and proper by educating people. There's a general logic in life. A better educated people will make better choices. I think that's the general principle. So it all comes down to education.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. So I'll throw this question out there, but I'll come back to the answer later on. But the question now is, he's made a very good point. Educated people, how did you say it again?
That's the general logic.
That's the general, exactly. And then the mental health of the person being educated is also quite important. So the question I'll pose, I'll come to your answers later on, is how then do we evaluate or bring up the topic of the mental health of our leaders? I know we focus on the children, we focus more on the people, but how do you want to have the discussion that, look, the person making this policy decision, are they in the right state of mind? Is there something that they need to do before they make this decision? Because oftentimes, if I as a person or as a citizen challenges a government position, if I'm met with backlash, can I not ask, is this a normal response? Is the person making this policy decision normally okay? What can I do? I'll come to the answers in a bit, but this question I would throw to the Ekwesili twins. So we've heard that there's a lot of problems now in terms of, there's a lot of problems waiting further down the line. So it's things we've accepted as normal begin to take the impact on us. How do we then take a step back and begin to fix that problem internally, externally? But I'll take it from two angles. The first angle would be, I am a normal citizen. I've gone through a lot of these things. What can I do to reorient myself? Two would be, I am a member of the government. What can I do now to reorient myself to make sure that the decisions I'm making that affects millions of people, I am making with a sound mind?
That's a wonderful question. Thank you. I think for one, it's more than the things you can do as a citizen, but remember, the environment also matters. So if we're asking in the context of environments being held constant, as we say in economics, right? And what can you do as a citizen yourself? Then we can then be a lot more specific about the things we can do. We've just talked about the framework. I think for every citizen, if every citizen practices this framework, every single person, just in their daily lives, it will completely transform the way we behave, even in an environment that isn't as suitable as we would love to see. If every citizen
spent time, just a moment, first thing waking up and saying, what is my intention for the day? How can I set the intention for the day? What do I want to achieve? If every citizen slowed down, for example, if the mechanic slowed down a little bit to look at the bonnet and figure out how to manipulate the button, then he wouldn't break it, and then someone wouldn't be annoyed down the line. If every citizen gave gratitude, just woke up in the morning and said, what am I grateful for? What am I thankful for? As hard as it had for Nigeria, man, there has to be something I'm grateful for. If we just did that, every single one of us in this room, just slow down for a second and ask ourselves the question, what are we grateful for? We'll find something to be grateful for. And just that little bit of gratitude, psychologically, will improve our mental health. And if every citizen said, how can I take responsibility more? How can I say I'm sorry even more? Especially because when Nigerians they struggle with saying I'm sorry. You see it in the road, you see it everywhere. But if we just said, what are the different ways I can take responsibility? What can I do differently? As opposed to blaming the government, as opposed to blaming everyone else, what can I just do that changes something, that makes something better? You'll find that mental health will be at a much better place collectively.
Wonderful. I think just to reiterate that topic, or the topic you mentioned of gratitude, pause, think about it. There has to be one thing that you can give gratitude for and focus on that. Let me go over to your brother.
Okay, and this is in terms of the government officials, right? Okay. I think for starters, the government officials can join Sppg. For starters, just have them enroll in Sppg. I think it will help their mental health. As a matter of fact, I know it will help their mental health. I think a lot of times we find that there are government officials who will have the right intention, but without the right knowledge, the intention begins to decline because the environment they're in begins to shape their intention. And it comes back to what my brother said about environment. Environment is key. If you have the right enabling environment, then it means that you can be able to create the right culture. You have the right culture, then you have the right individual. So you have government officials, really actually enrolling in Sppg and learning what it means to be really great leaders. Then it means that while they are dealing with any of the pressure of what it requires to be in their position, while they are dealing even with an environment where there are other peers that are corrupt, they have a greater sense of who they are. They have a greater sense of mental stability in who they are because they have a greater sense of the values that they want to uphold. So for starters, it's just really that. This is people really Sppg. If you're a leader, it's very key. But also just beyond that, I think it's important that we're actually creating structures that ensure that anyone who is being elected or put into a position is actually going through a mental evaluation. It is key. It's incredible that we give the keys essentially to the kingdom to anyone without actually evaluating if they're mentally sound to do that, to take over that position. And we wouldn't do it anywhere else or in any other position. We wouldn't. In any other company, we wouldn't do that. But when it comes to the government, we don't have a structure for that. We don't have a system for that. So it's important that we're actually able to design an environment that ensures that people are going through mental evaluations. And it's not just once, but periodically. Because then that ensures that we're able to catch any lapse in judgment when it comes up.
You heard it here, you heard it direct. If you're a public leader or future public leader, join the Sppg. Let me go down now because I want to open the floor to the audience here. But before I do that, just 1 minute each, I'll start from here this time, is what would you like the government to do? Now, this doesn't mean this shouldn't just be what you want the government to do for the people, but what would you like the government to do for itself? Because again, our policies come from there. What should they be doing up there to make sure that, whatever comes out from there has come from a mentally stable mind?
Wow, what do I want the government to do for itself? That's a challenging one, because the government is a thing in and of itself. What is government? First of all, I think we need to define that. And I think the definition of governance will vary depending on the context. In this particular context, you're talking about a set of people who are in positions of constituted authority that have a lot of bearing on our lives. I would like them to really come down and treat communities on an individual and needs basis, find out what their challenges, their requirements are, and then try to fill them, instead of going around and telling people what the people's problems are. Somebody's problem might be water, somebody's it's a school, somebody's is roads, definitely not a flyover, I can tell you that much. But yeah, because it's the flyover, my capital city, Yola, I'm wondering, you know, we don't have enough hospitals, but we're spending so much, but that's a different thing. So go down to the communities, find out what their problems are, and respond to those problems. That's what governance is, to serve. That's what I'd like to see.
Yeah, I would like to see this in a double-pronged manner. One, the government itself, and then what it needs to do for the rest of the citizens. For the government itself, I think I want to be realistic. If you ask them to hold themselves accountable, it will be difficult. That's been quite practical. If, as of today, you have already voted in somebody who is a drug addict, well, sorry about it. There's nothing you can do about that. I don't mean anybody anyway, but I'm just saying. But there are a lot of drug addicts in the society. In my hospital where I superintend, there are a number of people who are drug addicts. So, that's just a general statement. So, but what I'm saying is, for each individual it's a responsibility on each individual, whether you are a government official or not, to really look inwards and see how best to really carry yourself and do your own thing, and also how best to impact the individuals. So that's one. Two, I think government needs to also really now focus on the young generation. Let us nurture a generation that is quite healthy, both mentally, physically, and otherwise. And as we do so, we also concentrate on, like he said, do an intentional needs assessment and focus on those things and really try to treat the whole society as much as we can.
Thank you very much.
Because as it is now, I must tell you this, the access to care is very, very important. A number of people around here, I mean, within the country, really have this mental illness. I would tell you, from the rough statistics made, 80 to 90% of Nigerians have gone through some sort of mental illness or not. At any point in time, 1 out of 10 Nigerians, no, 2 out of 10 Nigerians have either depression or anxiety. So that's a huge number. And 80% of these people do not have access at all to any health care. So these are huge statistics that I think we need to address. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me just go over to the remaining speakers. 30 seconds each, so we can throw the question, throw the conversation to the audience.
Okay, my only request from government is to subsidize mental health services. For those of you that have tried to get therapy session with some of our renowned therapists, you can attest to how much it costs. I was sent for a therapy session in Lagos. My first consultancy fee was 60K per session. I never went back because I calculated the cost of traveling from Edo State to Lagos for counseling. I didn't go. So I had to look for a cheaper one within Edo State to continue that. So that's my own talk to government. But for me, what we're already doing at Braveheart, because we are all going back with a sense of responsibility and a sense of duty from here, is first, all our staff, we have these 7 approaches to mental well-being. All our work should be fulfillment and purpose-driven. We talk a lot about self-care, sleep, nutrition, and exercise. Exercise is integrated. I sleep at 7 p.m. every day since I clocked 30. I'm 41. So you call me for any event after 7, you won't see me there. It was a deliberate decision for my own mental well-being. Once I lock my gate, I shut down for the day. I don't pick my call. Number 3, positive outlook about life. Stress management, identifying your stressors. When my eyes are twitching, when I have migraines, when I have headaches, stomach cramps, I know. So I identify them. Then we normalize conversation around mental wellness. In rural communities, once you start talking, you don't decrease. You won't see psychiatrists. So we have to normalize that. Number 7, which is the last one, is medical care. Either you are seeing a professional therapist, a psychiatrist, or whatsoever. We have integrated this at Brave Heart Initiative. And it will be good for other NGOs that are working in very difficult terrain as us to have some of these. Don't start calling your staff at 11 p.m. to attend to a work.
Let them sleep. You seem like you have a very extensive list. I was wondering if anybody in the audience, where can they find that list? It's on your website. Wonderful, wonderful. So for anyone who is interested in, they want to find out what they can do as a society or what they can do as a person, you can go over to the Braveheart website and get more information on that. Let me go over to the twins.
Okay, so the government can do a lot of things, and at least the one the government can do. But I think one of the most important things that the government can actually do is bring more nature, more nature, more nature, more nature. Just the more nature that we actually put around us, the better our mental health can become. It is free therapy, absolutely free therapy. So just more nature. Ensure that we have a lot more trees. Ensure that we have a lot more crops, a lot more plants. Just ensure that we are raising a bunch of citizens who are actually taking responsibility for bringing more nature into spaces as much as possible. The more nature we have, the better our mental health will become.
Thank you very much.
Oh, there's a reason we're twins. Because that was exactly the same answer. More nature, more parks. More parks. When last did anyone here go to a park? In a government park that is clean, that is tidy, that has trees, that has grass, where you can relax, that is free. Exactly. So more parks, more spaces of nature for people to relax will really help.
Thank you very much.
All right, I have a message for all of us because we belong to one WhatsApp group or the other. And in many WhatsApp groups, there's a lot of toxicity going on. There's a lot of negativity about Nigeria going on. I had to call a WhatsApp group I belong to order to say, isn't it possible that something positive, just one positive thing has happened in Nigeria today? We cannot go on like, whining and whining and whining about Nigeria. It's affecting our mental health. Nowadays, I don't even visit WhatsApp groups because I don't want anybody to upset my equilibrium and the harmony within me. So we need to be careful what we say to one another on WhatsApp groups because that's a fertile ground for mental stress.
Thank you very much. And let me just ask anyone in the audience. So there's a couple of people. So we can't take everybody due to time. So I will do one there, and we need to hear from at least one of the school children that came. Let me go over to you there, sir.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for the wonderful speakers and the deliberations. My name is Daniel Uche. So my question to the speakers is, what are the role of parenting in mental health, looking at Nigerian context? This is one. Second, what are the role of our education system, and as well religious groups, to mental health, brain health, and mental well-being in Nigeria? I have other things I wanted, but I think I have a limited time. Thank you.
So before we answer, let me just take the next question there and one school. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Iweze Rose. I'm from Environmental Management and Occupational Health. I want to thank the organizers of this program. My comment is really, the Federal Ministry of Health, there's a Department of Mental Health in that ministry, and there's a health mental health policy on ground, but the implementation is just another thing. So that is a yes. So that is a just like an information I want to pass across. And then I also want to make a comment that there is a mental health linkage with climate change, with insecurity, and then with environment, as just the things I've mentioned. So my question would be that how can we begin to advocate for the mental health policy implementation? You know, without we are doing it as a CSOs or we are doing it as a school.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's just take one last question for the school children. School children.
Okay.
We need the representation from one of the school children. And once that's done, I'll come to any of you to answer the questions. Please, 30 seconds max.
Good morning. My name is Zinat Yusuf, and I am from Ansaruddin International School. I want to ask a question from Mrs. Anika Treasury. So, how can we alleviate the mental state of menstruation? For example, someone who was menstruating and for some days they didn't see their menstruation again. Like, how can we alleviate that mental state of depression?
Thank you very much. So let me hand over to our speakers now. Please, 30 seconds each. You had the question addressed to you, so you go first.
All right. Thank you. I know that there are, as I said it in my presentation, that a lot of our young teenage girls are going through irregular periods and they don't have anybody to talk with. The only way you can eliminate it is to tell your mom, your parents, your guardian, and to talk to your teacher in school so that they can find medical help for you, because it's a medical condition, right? That's the way to go. Having said that, madam, you asked about the correlation between mental health and climate change. And I just want to say that for menstruators, menstrual waste disposal is a stressor. Because if you have to dispose your menstrual waste, right? You're wondering, should I just throw it into the bin, or do I burn it? We'll recall that there was a time that we had a lot of these Yahoo boys. They said they were picking these things off refuse bins. So it has a direct correlation to climate change. So for us, we pivoted from disposables to reusables because it's friendlier to the environment. You're in better control of the waste because you can wash and reuse. And what we're doing now is to even introduce the other one that looks like a funnel. What's it now? Menstrual cups, because it's even more environmentally friendly. We need biodegradable, disposable.
Thank you very much. So we'll just take the last question now on parenting. Parenting, yes. Go ahead, and once that's done, we can close the conversation. Thank you.
I'm very happy that you mentioned our religious leaders. As a matter of fact, they are a big contributor to the challenges that almost everyone working in mental space. They are the one who are fueling those narrations that people should not seek what? Professional medical care. Because mental health, all the challenges that is being displayed is assumed to be what? Spiritual. They are the one casting out demons from people that are suffering challenges. For parents, they are also contributors. I'm 41, I'm unmarried. So, and we know what that means in many of our communities. Some people won't even allow you to have a say in family meetings because you are a minor. So, and they put a lot of pressure on our young women, which has also contributed to the femicide we are recording as a country. A lot of young men are dying in marriages. They had no business even getting into those unions because they were pressured from home to get into those unions. Our young boys are abusing drugs and going to cyber fraud. It's also parenting. Pressure from the parents for them to get money quick. Go into politics, you also want to embezzle. It's still parenting. When you hear about Sppg, they are telling you they are speaking grammar there. So all you want is get a piece of the national cake. It's also from parenting and some of all these things. So they all boil down back Every single person has a contributory
Thank you.
role. So it's
Thank
good
you.
to look at
Thank
it
you very
as a
much.
system.
Due to time, I know we want to continue this conversation, but a round of applause to our wonderful speakers, please. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Sorry, if can we take one quick, please? Just one quick photo. Mr. Apollo, Professor Mahmood, quick one. Quick photo. Okay. Okay, move closer. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rex, for leading such an engaging and thought-provoking Village Square conversation. And to our Village Square participants, thank you for your energy, your insights, and your willingness to engage so openly. Now, as we continue, please join me in welcoming the Head of Admissions at the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, Temilola Achakobe.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a great session. I've learned so many things. I hope everybody has learned that too. Learned so many things. The main thing with us is that multitasking. God will deliver us. Well, it's been great, and that panel discussion was extremely enlightening. So many things that we didn't know, and Chine has said it for me. I don't need to say much more. Everybody needs to go through the SPPG program. Leaders, citizens, you need to go through the SPP program. You would learn a lot. The SPPG is a 10-month program, fully online. We're designed to build a new generation of political leaders who can serve the citizens that they lead. We'll learn how to formulate policies and raise world-class leaders with value-driven character, unquestionable competence, and undeniable capacity. And with the commitment of our world-class faculty and our great partners, we have graduated over 700 students, and we have 282 disruptive leaders in class right now. Yes, we deserve a round of applause. It has been a very fruitful journey, and we are moving on. So we have the class of 2026, and the admission to the class of 2026 is now open. So we'll play a short video which summarizes who we are and how you can join us.
But when do we move from hoping to becoming what we're meant to be?
Can you start again, please? 2026 video.
Politics, Policy and Governance, SPPG, the unconventional school. Nigeria has incredible potential. But when do we move from hoping to becoming what we're meant to be? The answer is the School of Politics, Policy and Governance, SPPG. The unconventional school is building a new, disruptive thinking political class. In just 5 years, SPPG has trained over 758 leaders across Nigeria and Senegal and is expanding into Kenya, Ghana, and Tunisia. SPPG blends online and in-person learning to raise 21st century politicians with character, competence, and capacity. If you're ready to build a Nigeria where life is secure, jobs are plentiful, power is constant, and everyone has a chance, this is your moment. Apply now at nigeria.thesppg.org.
Thank you very much. That was not the 2026 one, but that will do. Thank you very much.
Another round of applause for the Head of Admissions at the SPPG, Temilola Achakobe. And now please join me in welcoming back on stage Rex Rimruke as he introduces the school presentations.
Thank you again, everyone. So for those of you who were here last year, we had some schools come in. They listened to our the Big Ideas presentation last year, and what we've done this year, we've asked them, we've given them a task. It's a simple task. How can technology be used to influence positive behavior change in your school or your community? We've given them categories from environmental stability, environmental sustainability, health and well-being, education, learning, financial literacy, and agriculture. So each school will come in and give us a 3-minute presentation on what they have done since last year till now. And it's my pleasure to welcome Nikowa Schools, Abuja. Thank you. A round of applause for them.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Falum Nafe Esther, and with me are my fellow students of Nikowa Schools. I want to start by thanking the convener, Big Idea Platform. You really got ideas for organizing such a timely event, which many of us, particularly Nikowa Schools, are taking advantage of. To exploring the inexhaustible opportunities that lie with AI. Since then, we have made lots of exploitation using AI. Apart from using AI to attend to some of our educational needs, such as studying to solve difficult problems and studying ahead of our teachers before they teach us, there are some mind-blowing discoveries we have made with AI, which we'll share with you today. Upon discoveries that AI can actually do anything, we went into research with AI, and guess what? Today, we can design building plans for any kind of house from the comfort of our homes, which, with us, here are some of the building plans courtesy of AI. As you can see, this is a 3-bedroom flat. This is the master bedroom, the second bedroom, the third bedroom, also the kitchen, the dining, the living room, 2 water closets, and the covered porch. It may also interest you to know that we are set to make a lot of fortune from this. Another interesting discovery we have made is cost-free and simple stress managing therapy, which we term FPTT, that is foot and palm tapping therapy.
Oh yes, foot and palm tapping therapy, a simple and effective way to relieve stress. As we all know, stress is a common part of daily life, but if not managed, it can affect our mental and physical health. Foot and palm tapping is a simple and non-invasive method anyone can use to calm the mind and relax the body. It involves using a small object like a pen to gently tap on the soles of the feet and palms of the hands. Some of you may be wondering, what is this foot and palm tapping therapy? Foot and palm tapping therapy is a form of self-applied sensory stimulation. It uses gentle, rhythmic tapping on the feet and hands. It is usually done using the pointed end of a pen and can be practiced while sitting or lying down.
The science behind the foot and palm tapping therapy. The rich nerve endings. The palms and soles contain thousands of nerve endings. Tapping stimulates these nerves, sending signals to the brain and increasing body awareness. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The body's relaxation system is often triggered by gentle touch. It reduces levels of stress hormones like cortisol. It provides a grounding effect. It helps bring attention back to its present moment. It is useful during anxiety and mental fatigue. Rhythmic movement calms the brain. Rhyme and repetition helps slow down the racing thoughts, often caused by stress. Energy flow. Reflexology and traditional beliefs. In reflexology, the palms and soles are connected to different organs and emotions. It helps restore balance and energy flow in the body. Steps in performing this therapy. Firstly, find a quiet place and sit comfortably. Use the rounded end of a pen. Use the pointed end of a pen or your finger. Gently tap the center of your palm for 30 seconds. Move on to the soles of your feet and repeat the motion. Focus on your breathing as you tap. Inhale slowly, exhale deeply. Repeat the motion for as needed for 5 to 10 minutes.
Foot and palm tapping therapy has a lot of benefits. Firstly, it reduces stress and anxiety. Secondly, it improves body-mind connection. Thirdly, it may improve sleep and focus. Fourthly, there is no side effects when done gently. Last but not the least, it is easy and quick to do anywhere.
I'm sorry, but we have to stick to time. For those of you who are not aware, we've given a scoring sheet to some of the participants in here, so they'll be scoring the schools, and we will announce the results later. It's my pleasure now to call on stage Government Girls Secondary School Dutse. A round of applause for them.
Good day, everyone. My name is Billy Aisha Orolo, a proud queen from the prestigious Government Girls Secondary School, Dulce. Last year, one thing I picked from the Big Ideas platform is, if you have an idea, make it big. And that's exactly what we did. Originally, my school had embarked on a journey towards democracy, but it was not perfect. After attending the Big Ideas platform last year, we realized there was still hope and room for improvement. With that, I present my big idea: the standardization of the Government Girls Secondary School Dulce democratic system of government. Last year, elections took place in our school, votes were cast and won, and through those elections, I became the first Senate President of Government Girls Secondary School Dulce. But there were hitches. The ballot papers were plain A4 sheets, and the ballot boxes were beautifully wrapped cartons. And this made our idea to be metamorphosed into a project. With this project, we plan on creating customized ballot papers for the over 2,000 citizens of Government Girls Secondary School Dulce, like this, to enable them to enter the name of their candidates into the provided slot. And we also plan on providing over 20 ballot boxes for each classes, as each class serves as the polling unit to ensure that there is no electoral malpractice or rigging. This project will not only invite a positive change into the educational sector, but it will also help us to explore innovation and entrepreneurship, because it will prepare students for the life after school. And also, our school will become a template to be emulated by other schools. And as other schools come to tap from our big ideas, they'll have to tap from it in exchange for a token. Last year's Big Ideas program was not just an enlightenment for our school, but was also a driving force to perfect our school's democratic system of government. And now I am proud to tell you that my school is not just a school, but now a federal republic with 4 standing states, an independent electoral commission with its own constitution, and a place where both minority and majority is found important. On this note, I would like to solicit for funds to help us to actualize and achieve our goals. Thank you very much for listening.
Wow. The competition is fierce today. I hope we're enjoying it so far. Without further ado, let me invite the next school. Without further ado, let me invite the next school, Asaruddin International School, for their presentation. Thank you.
Hello, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Toher Suleiman. I would love to talk on the topic, the impact of information and communication technology in my school. First of all, let me explain what technology means. Technology is expected to devote the attention to the treatment of poor performance of students in schools. My school has adopted a modern way in which is helping students in their proficiency and learning abilities. As we all know that the world has adjusted from an analog system to a digitalized system. My school has inculcated some use of models which can help both teachers and students in learning process. My school uses what is called David Bellows SMCR. This model is built upon to the usage of wide-range networking that helps students to overtake learning and also do their researches. My school has a large CBT center that is fully equipped with wide-range networking for proper purpose and learning processes. Then, this modern design work with these four elements, like I said earlier, SMCR, which the S stands for source, M, message, C, channel, and R, receiver. The source is the teacher. The M is the message, knowledge, or skills, while the C is the channel, radio station, or marker board. Then the R, receiver, also known as the student. The main aim of this model is to find the ability to shift or take the element of communication for the question being asked. Secondly, my school uses what is called broadcast telecommunication media. Media in delivering teaching. Some days like Thursdays and Fridays, my school uses projectors in administration of lessons or talk to students. Generally, I must confess that last year's seminar really opened my school to the necessity and the embracement of information and communication technology as a model in learning. Thank you.
Hello, distinguished.
Okay, on the condition that you're okay if you overrun. Fine. Wait. One last thing, because the other schools stuck to 3 minutes.
Hello, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Permit me to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Jore Ibrahim. I am here to talk about factors of methods as it relates to AI in the development of learning in my school. The choice of a method of learning and teaching has its own peculiarities, which are therefore unique to each other. These methods are those elements my school uses in effectiveness of learning as it comes to teachers and student development. Basically, methods can be classified into two in terms of the degree of control by the teachers and students in the teaching and learning method process. This classification in which my school practices are summed up as teacher-centered method and learner-centered method. Some of the teacher-centered method are teaching, demonstration, and structured discussion. In this method is learner-centered. This is where the teacher uses play roles, games, simulations, and projectors to teach. This method really helps us in learning development because we are really affiliated to these gadgets. Thank you.
Well, I've been overruled, so without further ado, let me call on the next school. This is Government Junior Secondary School, Gosa, Abuja. A round of applause for them.
Good day, everyone. I am Ogenete Gapita Owolo from Junior Secondary School, Gosa. We are beneficiaries from the just concluded program titled Project Safe Spaces, conducted by Satire Africa Foundation. With the use of technological aids, we have been able to learn a lot of impactful topics like values, identity, civic education and democracy, literacy and storytelling, the use of internet, and hygiene. At this point, I would like to thank the MacArthur Foundation for their support all the while, and also imply for your support for the completion of the program and the e-library which Satire has already started at Junior Secondary School, Gosa. It will be of great support to us as it will aid our learning processes and also be a medium to connect to our friends at Sabon Tasha, Kaduna State, Nigeria, and Cameroon. Thank you.
Good day, all. My name is Samuel Sunday. Project Safe Spaces has really impacted us with knowledge like hygiene. They taught us how to keep ourselves clean, our community, and Nigeria at large, if possible, through the internet, by showing us pictures of hygiene and orderliness, and has also taught us how to use the internet when bullied through the internet, how we can report to authorities and avoid fraudulent activities that will have to do with the internet. Today, now I know how to take care of myself hygienely and my community, and how to use the internet safely. Project Safe Spaces has really imparted us to be a visionary thinker and not a short-sighted thinker. Project Safe Space, Project Safe Space, I'm now able to contribute to national development and also my community development. And I'm sure if the request of granting the e-library is granted, I will be able to influence my friends through the internet to also join in developing Nigeria and Africa at large. Thank you.
My name is Yakub Farida Unize. We are also taught on identity and who is a Nigerian. Our identity is who we are, where we are from, our citizenship, while a Nigerian is a person who is born and raised in Nigeria. We are also taught on literacy and story writing. That brings me to the anthology, which was formed with the ideas of the students of JSS Gosa and Sabon Tasha, Kaduna, Nigeria. It is titled Resilient Breed because you can have a great mind, but without resilience, you can't achieve much. The book consists of fictional and non-fictional stories, insecurity in Kanjuri, and it's also related to politics, bullying, and positive change. Resilient Breed is a collection of stories based on current realities faced by the children in their communities. Resilient Breed can help in developing and creating positive change in our society. Project Safe Space, which was implemented by Satire Africa, needs more support so that more solutions and ideas can be nurtured in a form of story writing. Thank you all.
Okay, since we're all enjoying this so far, so let me call on the another school. This is Government Secondary School Gwagwalada. A round of applause for them.
Good day, everyone. We are the students of Government Secondary School Gwagwalada, and today we'll be presenting a skit which will show how technology can be used to administer treatment to patients with ailments through the help of a robot. Remain seated and be entertained. Thank you.
Good job. Excuse me. How is the patient in Ward 1?
She's stable, sir.
Okay, what of the patient?
She's
What's the
responding
man
from
of last night?
I think we should just give that man the notification of.
Robot GLK8 activates.
Robot GLK8 activated.
Robot GLK8 examine the patient.
Examination of the patient activated. Scanning successful. Examination completed. Blood sample taken. Temperature 38.6 degree. Malaria detected.
Robot GLK8 prescribe medication.
Dextrosaline drip 1, flagyl drip 2, sodium citrate drip 3.
Robot GLK8 proceed to your station.
Robot GLK8 deactivate. From these kits, we have been able to see how technology, through the help of robots, has been able to reduce hospital workloads, thereby making it more accurate and efficient. It has also been able to reduce patient hassles, waiting up in queues before being attended to. This system is practiced in places like University of California in San Francisco and Andrew Brooks Treatment Center in Cambridge University. So with all these, our big idea is telemedicine is the future of healthcare. Thanks for your audience.
Another round of applause for them. Another round of applause. Okay, so let me call on the last and final school for today, His Excellency International Schools, for their presentation. A round of applause for them.
Tell me more about it.
Blockchain is a technology that can record transactions. Blockchain is a technology that can record transactions in a more secured and decentralized manner. And that's not all. They also taught us four types of blockchain technology, which are private blockchain technology, public blockchain technology, constituent blockchain technology, and hybrid blockchain technology.
Are you serious? That reminds me. I wanted to tell you, my mom uses this new online banking app, OPay, and she no longer needs to go to the bank again. Also, I shop online now, Veronica. You need to see the beautiful jewelry I just bought. I no longer need to go to the market to buy anything again.
But this is relating to the information technology they actually taught us today in school.
Yes, that's why I topic, Veronica.
And it has impacted in so...
Why did you dispose that bottle like that?
Because I was done drinking and I had to dispose it. Do you have any other contrasting option?
You were supposed to recycle it, Veronica.
What good could come out of that common bottle? Annabelle, common bottle.
Hold on. I'll show you what good could come out of that bottle.
Okay, now let me see the magic you made out of that common bottle.
I made this flower vase to support nature.
This is beautiful. You mean you made this?
I made this pen holder.
Whoa!
I don't have my cup I use at school.
Whoa! You made a cup out of a bottle.
Yes, I did, Veronica.
You're genius. And I will need you to teach me this because this is way out of my league.
I'll teach you. Let's go.
Thank you very much for this information.
See the way dirt are everywhere. Everywhere is just littered. Oh no. I just have to throw this eggshell. Thank God I don't have always been to trash my eggshell. So since everybody's doing it, I have to do it too. I don't care. What? Should I treat them? Should I treat? I don't understand.
I'm expecting you to recycle this eggshell. This eggshell is very important to you. Besides, see dirt everywhere, and you're throwing another dirt. This can cause pollution and illness now, and this can make your children sick now, and you'll be saying that your children is having one sickness or the other after one week. You don't know that this is the main reason.
Are you serious? So is this the reason why my children is sick? So now they expect me to trash my waste bin.
Since you said you don't have a waste bin, you can create a compost pit and put your dirt there instead of polluting the area. Then this eggshell now, as you can see, I just finished washing my pot. See my pot, very clean and shiny. What do you think I used to wash this pot like this?
I wash the pot?
I use this Vim. This is called Vim.
Wow!
That's where I got this Vim from this eggshell you just thrown away. And see my pot clean and shine. And this is not the only thing that eggshell can do. You can put it inside your garden, and that your garden in your backyard. You can put it there, and your plants will grow very well. And that your chicken, they're always saying that, you're always complaining that they will lay small eggs. Let me tell you, this chicken needs calcium. If you just put this egg inside their food, their egg will be strong and very big.
Are you serious? So is eggshell useful like this? I don't know. If not, I wouldn't have thrown it away.
I'm telling you. I don't know why you're throwing these important things away. If you want, I will teach you.
I would like to learn this.
First, you pack it. Let's go. I'll teach you. Let's go. You're polluting the area.
Of course.
Don't worry, I'll teach you.
Why this lecturer are giving us word that cannot be found in the encyclopedia? Making everything complex for me. I'm just tired. It's affecting me mentally, physically, and emotionally. I'm confused.
Why are you wasting your time with all these books?
I don't understand. Preparing for exams.
No, now this is old-fashioned. Haven't you heard of information technology?
Information technology?
Yes, information technology. Information technology can enhance learning experience through online class, virtual classroom, and even educational software. Not to even talk of personal productivity.
Are you serious?
Information technology can help an individual manage his time more effectively, even work-life balance. So you need to be acquainted with information technology and stop wasting your time without these books. They are a waste of time. There's even one named AI. There's a lot.
How come I don't know about information technology? Thank you.
No, yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. And if you wanna bear the world, let's bring ourselves to change. And if you wanna read to the future, let's come and build the bridge. And if you want the change to come, let's bring ourselves to change. Let's change our heart, let's change our thoughts, let's change our minds, let's change our speech, the way we act, the way we walk, the way we love, the way we live. Let's change our heart, let's change our thoughts, let's change our minds, let's change our speech, the way we act, the way we walk, the way we love, the way we live. Change your heart, change your
Change your mind, change your spirit. Yo, listen, got a message for the masses. But the power of change, all is crisis. Are you breaking the glass? I'm making glasses. I'm backing on the road for a new spark. My thoughts, my words, my actions. Why speak, do I think? No actions. I'm breaking the dreams, breaking the change. The past and the future, I'm making the change.
And if you wanna bear the world, let's bring ourselves to change. And if you wanna read to the future, let's come and build the bridge. And if you want the change to come, let's bring ourselves to change. We are the students of His Excellency International Schools, and this is our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I hope we all love the school presentations. We hope you all love the school presentations. So for those who don't know, the schools have been scored, they have been graded, and we'll announce the winner later on. But for now, let's go back to the regular program. Thank you.
A big thank you to our students for their thoughtful and beautifully delivered presentations. I know you all enjoyed that as much as I did. It's always powerful to witness the voices of a new generation stepping into the spaces of big ideas, reminding us that the future is not just something we wait for, but something we shape together across generations. And now, it is my honor to welcome someone who continues to shape that future with vision, courage, and conviction. Please welcome the founder of the Fix Politics, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili.
That was simply amazing, wasn't it? And all of you are sitting there. You see, when people ask me, where is your hope? I always say the younger generation. And it's not, about being Pollyannish, because we know that there are issues still, even with our younger generation. But the truth is, Africa's game changers are three things: the young people of Africa, the women of Africa, and technology. Every year since we started the Big Ideas platform, we have consistently seen the children express themselves as those who are already taking charge of our future. And as a parent, we couldn't be happier, right? Anyone who is of the older generation of our continent should be pleased that what my dear friend Emma Sky said to us, that the future of our continent is actually bright, based on, anecdotally for now, the kinds of talents that she, in that little space of Yale University, gets to see, gets to support in their endeavors. Emma, your speech was not merely telling us of the backslides that we constantly deal with, that constitute lots or loads of stressors for our population. It also, but every hope has to be walked. And how do I tie what you told us to what we've just seen in the competition amongst the children? It is that our children are ready to walk our hope. I would think that we should clap resoundingly for all of our children. When our wonderful Rex, who by the way has been brilliant, was trying to get the children of the Ansaruddin school off the stage, did we not protest? When we protested, what happened? The injustice was corrected. And that ties me to what Funke Treasure Akintoye was saying to us. Do not keep silent. She was basically giving us information we're not aware of concerning the young women and women more broadly, that menstruation is actually an issue. And you would normally think, well, we don't get to see how much of an issue it is. Well, for a long time, we did not think that people having malaria was an issue. You got malaria, they just simply went to a chemist and got you Panadol and told you to drink, and just whatever else they could get, until in development studies, research showed that malaria as a disease burden costs our continent as much as 2% of our productivity. That's significant statistically. So when new areas of knowledge come, we must not disdain. Funke Treasure works in the trenches, supporting young women. And one key message that she brought to Big Ideas is the pad banks are important for our girls in schools. We hope that schools that are hearing us, governments across the country that are hearing us, understand that just by gaining efficiency in some of the outlandish spendings that happen in governments, that they can actually provide pad banks for our girls. If you support this call, clap. But before Funke came on, my dear friend Andrew Nevin, he is Canadian, but Andrew lived amongst us here in Nigeria as the chief economist for Price Waterhouse, better known now as PwC. And he asked us to test ourselves. I failed though. Because everything that he said about brain health and how it really is something that we're architects of. Whether it was the matter of how long do you hold your phone? How, yeah, guilty parties are all laughing along. Yes. Okay. If you passed that one, let's see your hand. I'm glad that you're very truthful people. You're honest. None of you said you passed the test of not keeping down your phone, right? But remember, Andrew said to us that we are the architects of our brain. He also said something that made those two culprits, the VC, our Royal Digital Global VC, please help us to clap for our VC. My dear sister and friend, Alero Aida Otobo, and my dear brother, Frank Weke, who is the current chair of Fixed Politics. The two of them looked in my direction and said, I hope you scored yourself on multitasking -1,000. Andrew told us the science of the brain, that multitasking is actually not something to proudly, talk about. Did you get that? He said to us, scientifically proven, that whatever it is you're doing, give it all the attention. Finish it before moving on to another task. Did we learn something very useful at Big Forum this year? When I scored myself, I got a total of 17, and he said it's good power. But when I looked at myself, I said, I don't like just good power. I want to be at the 24, where those numbers show excellent performance. Because he did say something that you must take away with you. He said, aging does not lead to the brain functioning less. He said we could actually, as we age, do better with our brains. You know what that means? We have to pay attention. It means that the productivity of our nation intergenerationally can be out of this world if we would only be guided by the kind of knowledge that we received at this year's Big Ideas Forum. I want to be continually using this brain on a healthy path every day. And so we must take away the kind of knowledge that Dr. Andrews gave to us. He said something about having been with me. He came, I invited him over to dinner when I was doing my fellowship at the Robert Bosch Academy in Berlin, and I told him, I have a big idea. And he said, what's your big idea, Obi? And I said, I am tired of us talking to tone-deaf political and public leaders on my continent. What we now need to do is to create a new pipeline of those who are trained to indeed be the leaders that will serve the people with competence, with capacity, but above all, with a strong ethical foundation, meaning that they must be people with character. And he said, so you think this would work? I said, hold my grapefruit juice. Is that what they say? Some say hold my beer, but I said hold my grapefruit juice. And we started designing. And that is the school that you see today, the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance. And it is this school that has brought this program, Big Ideas, to celebrate Africa Day every year. So Africa, through the Africa Union, says there's a 2063 agenda. That 2063 will happen only by virtue of Africa improving our productivity. Every conversation that we had here today, and with all my thanks to the speakers, execs twins, Chinemelum and Chinwoba Ezekwesili, the whole concept of the framework of growth is actually productivity enhancing. I know of organizations that have used the framework as an audit process of what's going on in terms of productivity amongst their teams and the incredible outputs and outcomes that has fostered. Thanks for sharing with us something you learned during COVID because you observed nature. And in all that conversation, how could I not thank you, Professor Raji Mahmood, for telling us how important it is for us to actually design policies with a duty of care. I constantly say that empathy is such an important value for governance. And until we get to leaders who understand empathy, it would not change this idea that the big man is the one who is entitled to a good life, while the rest of the citizens suffer. Thank you for calling our attention to the fact that mental health of our citizens jeopardize our collective well-being. Thank you very much to all our other speakers, and you, our dear friend, the journalists. Forgive me that my brain, Apollo, yes. Thank you very much for the points that you so well made. We're really so grateful. And ladies and gentlemen, as we know of ourselves at the School of Politics, Policy, and Governance, more famously known as Sppg, our drive to have a different genre of leaders, a different cadre of leaders that subordinate their own interest to the collective interest, is only made possible through the kind of focus we've given to the brain condition today. I want to let you know that research shows that by improving the brain state of the world, we can unlock $28 trillion to the global economy. Can you imagine? We didn't just set this up so that we can talk. We also just learned that from the parental level, caring for the children, caring for the people would nurture the brain. So let us go away from here, hearing what the exec twins said. The third item on the framework was what? Take responsibility. Please do not abandon your duty of care from the family level to your workplaces and ultimately to the nation Nigeria. And I want to thank Hawa, where are you? Hawa Mohammed, please stand up. Because I just want to use you as an example of what I said about the intergenerational thing. Oh, my goodness. goodness, how could I miss Priscilla? But let me finish with Hawa. So Hawa, our pioneer dean is Dr. Amina Salihu. And Dr. Amina Salihu, if you know her at all, is a woman of many parts. And when part of our policy at the Kennedy School, at the SPPG, is that deans graduate with their class. So she taught the pioneer class and she graduated with them. And a new dean took over. Now, when Amina stepped down from being dean, we immediately had a conversation and we said, we're setting up a thought leadership department and that she would head it. And Amina Salihu began to do the work of getting our thought leadership program going. First one, second one, our third one, right? And Amina is on sabbatical. And when Amina said she was going on sabbatical, we were like, oh dear, what are we going to do? Putting all the pieces for big ideas together. And Amina said, I have some young people who would be able to carry it. Ladies and gentlemen, did the young people carry it? They carried it well. Why did they carry it well? Because Hawa Mohammed stepped into the big shoes of Amina and began to coordinate the work together with Rex. Where is Rex? That amazing, Rex is the amazing young man that you saw who moderated the sessions, a graduate of the SPPG himself. You know what? There's no reason to despair. Africa will be fine. Nigeria will be fine. Our communities will be fine. We now have children who understand the concept of taking responsibility. And children who understand that character is a lasting currency. Hawa, we celebrate you and your team for the work. Please sit. Priscilla, you're a trooper. Priscilla is just amazing. I have known her from her work. And when you see a person like Priscilla, well educated, choosing to live in Igara, am I correct in this pronunciation of that community? Outside of Benin. And every day she writes about her work. I just read it and I smile. And I say, what a generation of women. Priscilla, my third game changer is women. You personify why that is so. But even data proves it, that by unlocking all the possibilities of the African women, that our continent will go many notches higher in our economic growth. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for being such a champion for women and for girls. Thank you for being in the community and connecting to the place that matters most. We really love your work. Thank you. Now to the VC and the team at the SPPG, including you all, Temi and Ariola, and the rest of our colleagues from the fixed politics community, led by the chair. I just want to say thank you. Any idea, whether small or big, cannot happen because one individual is running it. Anytime you see people preaching one individual, you know that something is wrong. Don't ever agree with the idea that one cock crows at dawn. Any society where only one cock crows at dawn is already on its way to implosion. So this whole thing you have seen today is the benefit of having collective leadership of an idea. Our big idea for you is that you will no longer again stay small, because small is no longer beautiful. Thank you very much, and looking forward to welcoming you next year.
Another round of applause for Dr. Obi Ezekwesili. Thank you, Dr. Obi Ezekwesili, for your continued dedication. Your vision continues to light the path for so many across generations. And speaking of generations, our young thespians have already set the stage with their passion and presence. Now we invite you to experience a powerful continuation of that energy through performance. Up next is a collaborative drama piece titled Imagine Action, brought to life by Kinning Saw Concepts in collaboration with Aroha Royal Theatre. Sit back, reflect, and enjoy the story as it unfolds.
You're watching Arise, the world's standout news channel. Arise News, awards, and beyond.